Okay, Perek of Eliezer, Perek Memtes. So this Perek is going to be, at the beginning of the Perek at least, is sort of like an introduction to the Inyanim of Megillas Esther. The first part has to do with the story of Shaul HaMelech not killing out Amalek in the time of Shaul HaMelech, which is read as the Haftarah of Parshas Zachar, which we read right before the Shabbos before Purim. So this has to do with that story over there. And in a lot of ways, it's also a hemshich of what Perek Eliezer said in Perek Mem Daled, which has to do with the war of Klal Yisrael against Amalek right after Yetzias Mitzrayim. But we're starting from over here, from the story of Shaul HaMelech. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Yomer. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, "Rotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahachris ulahashmid kol zarei shel Amalek." HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to cut off and destroy all the descendants of Amalek. V'sholach l'Shaul ben Kish lahachris ulahashmid kol zarei shel Amalek. And Hashem sent Shaul ben Kish, the first king of Klal Yisrael, to destroy and cut off all of the descendants of Amalek. V'Shaul v'ha'am shamu. Shaul and the nation heard Hashem's commandment to destroy Amalek, and they listened to it, and they went out and they destroyed all of Amalek, except Except they had Rachmanis on one person. They didn't have Rachmanis on some homeless guy or some disgraced person or whatever. They had Rachmanis, so they didn't want to kill him. Agag, rather on Agag, the king of Amalek. Agag was the king of Amalek. On him they had Rachmanis and they didn't kill him. The Radal, both over right here in Eis Dalet and in the beginning of the Perek in Eis Aleph, says that they didn't kill Agag, and apparently they also didn't kill a few other people as well, because later on in Sefer Shmuel we find that there was an Amalekite who ended up killing Shaul, but that's what the Radal says.
The Amalek had their own king. Edom was one kingdom. That's one question. The second thing, the kings of Edom weren't from Edom, I think it is.
Right, they made a deal with each other.
So how's Agag from...
I don't know, could be Amalek was a separate kingdom within Edom. Could be, I don't know. It seems like they were more southeast of southwest of where Edom usually was.
Arad was Amalek.
What Arad, right? In Parshas Chukas, Vayishal Knani Melech Arad. So they had Rachmanis and they didn't kill Agag, and the Radal says apparently they didn't kill a few other people as well. But as Meretz Hashem we'll see later, we'll see that it's not muchach that there were other people that they left alive. It could be there's something else that happened over here. But fine. Shneimah says in the pasuk in Shmuel Aleph, "Vayachmoil Shaul ve'om al Agag ve'al meita v'sayin ve'abakar." Shaul and the nation had pity on Agag and on the choicest of the tzayin bakar, of the sheep and the cattle. B'shama Shmuel HaNavi heard about this. And he went out to greet them. And he went to greet the Jewish army. He said to them, "Chamaltem al Amalek. You had any Rachmanis on Amalek? But he said to them, you left over any remnant of them?" So they said to Shmuel HaNavi, "Yeah, we did. We left over the tzayin and the bakar so we can make karbanos out of it to Hashem our God." I don't know why it says Alikecha. That's the lashon of the pasuk. They should have said Hashem Alikeinu, not Hashem Alikecha. I don't know. I have to see exactly why it says it like that. But that's the lashon of the pasuk. Amar Rahem, Shmuel HaNavi said to them, "Ein chayves la Hashem ba'alei yisuzvachim." Hashem doesn't want your oilas, carbon oilas, zvachim, carbon shlamim. Ki'im l'shmaya b'kol. Rather, He wants you to listen to His way. He doesn't want you to bring God. He wants you to listen to what He said. It says in the pasuk, Shmuel said, "Hachayfetz l'Hashem ba'olis zvachim." Does Hashem desire oilis and zvachim? Kishmaya b'kol Hashem hinei shemea mizevach toiv. When you listen to the voice of Hashem, that listening, behold, listening is better than a good carbon. So basically, Shmuel HaNavi sort of chastises them for leaving over some of the animals. He said, "No, you shouldn't have left over the animals." We're also going to see what Shmuel HaNavi did about the fact that they left over Agag. But there's an interesting shakla v'taya over here that they said, "Oh yeah, we left over the animals because we want to make karbanos." And Shmuel HaNavi said to them, "What do you mean? Hashem doesn't want a carbon. He wants you to listen to what He said." What's over here? The underlying. What do they say? Oh, we left it over to bring karbanos, and what does Shmuel HaNavi say back? There's a very geschmack of word over here from the Rebbe Reb Heschel in Chanukah Torah in the back of the Sefer Likutim on Haftarah Parshas Zohar. So the Rebbe Reb Heschel says a very geschmack Havana, which we can expand a little bit more on. First of all, where does it come from that we're supposed to kill out the animals of Amalek? Hashem said, go and kill out, destroy Amalek. Why do you have to kill the animals of Amalek? Where does that come from? So if you look in Rashi, in Sefer Shmuel Aleph, Perek Tezvav, Pasuk Gimel, it says in the Pasuk, this is what Shmuel HaNavi told Shaul. It says, Hashem, Tzvakis, Bokadati, Eisav also Amalek Yisrael. I remember what Amalek did to Klal Yisrael. Asher Som Loi Baderech, Ba'alis Mitzrayim. They messed them up over there on the road when they're coming out of Mitzrayim. Now Lech v'Kisas Amalek, go and smite Amalek. V'charamtem es kol asher loi, destroy everything that belongs to them. V'leisachmo olav, and don't have pity on them. V'hematam isha ad isha, kill from man to woman. V'oilol v'adyonik, from a little kid to a nursing baby. Mishor v'atzeh, from an ox to a sheep. Migomo v'ad chamor, from a camel to a donkey. Kill everywhere, everything you should kill. Says Rashi, Mishor v'atzeh, shohayu balik shafim umishanin atzman v'domin lebehema. Because the people of Amalek were bali kishuf. They knew how to deal with magic and these type of things. And they would change themselves and make themselves look like an animal. So Rashi is understanding that that's why Hashem told them to go kill out the animals. Because you think it's a cow or a donkey, but really it's not. It's really an Amaleki who changed himself into a cow so that he won't kill him. So you have to kill out all the animals so that you won't end up being nirshal and leaving over people. That's what it sounds like. That's what Rashi says. Also, the Purim in this week's parsha, Parshas Mishpatim, brings this on the pasuk of Mechashef Olei Sechaya.
Sounds like there's even a story.
What?
It says that you shouldn't even say this house belonged to Amaleki or this.
Oh, one second. So we're going to get to that. Says the Rebbe Reb Heschel like this. In Sefer Chasidim, Rabbi Yehuda Chassid in Sefer Chasidim, he doesn't say where it is. I think I remember looking at it. It was like Tav Shin Samech Vav, something like that. Over there in Sefer Chasidim, it says that these people that know how to change it, these people that know how to change themselves into animals, even when they change themselves into an animal, there's one thing that never changes. You know what that is? Your eyes. The eyes will never change. If a human turns into a cow or a human turns into a donkey, he'll always still have the same eyes of a human. That's what it says in Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. Now comes along the Rebbe Heschel. It's a geschmack of word. So Gemara in Mesachas Bukhairis on Daf Mem is talking about the mumin that make an animal puzzle from his veach. If it has certain blemishes or defects, that makes it that you're not allowed, it's also to bring it in the mizbeach. So over there it says that one of the mumin is if the animal's eye looks like the eye of a human, the Gemara really says is if the animal's eye looks like the eye of a human, then it's puzzle to the mizbeach. Says the Rebbe Reb Heschel. According to this, we can understand what the nation was telling back to Shmuel HaNavi. They said to him, Shmuel HaNavi said, "Did you leave over any animals?" And they said, "Yeah, we left over animals. We're going to bring them as karbanos." Meaning, we're going to bring them as karbanos. What does that mean? It means we check the animals. We make sure that they're not puzzle for karbanos because their eyes look like don't look like human eyes. They look like regular animal eyes. So there's no problem of leaving them over because of Amalek, because there's no chashash that they're people that turned into animals, and they're kosher for kabbanis, so we have to know for covered. And that's what they're telling Shmuel HaNavi. That's what the Rebbe Reb Heschel says. This is where the vart stops. He doesn't say what Shmuel HaNavi answered back. But if we look at what it says over here in Pirkei Eliezer, or really in the Psukim, Shmuel HaNavi says back, no, Hashem doesn't want your kabbanis, Hashem wants you to listen to what he said. So what was Shmuel HaNavi answering back? So I think it's Pashut. But I happened to have seen it in the Sefer this week, in the Sefer Shalmi Toida on Purim, Siman Hey and Vav, from a Rav in Bnei Brak who was actually nifter this past week. His name was Rav Shalom Ben Zion Feldman. So he writes in the Sefer a Pashut idea that what Shmuel HaNavi was answering back is that you're not supposed to make cheshbonos. Don't make your cheshbon, the reason why Hashem said we should kill the animals is because maybe it was a person who switched into an animal, but if we know it's not a person who switched into an animal, we can leave over the animals. Don't make your cheshbonos. Hashem, listen to what Hashem said. That's your job. Hashem said, kill animals, you kill the animals. Don't make up your own reason why Hashem said I should kill the animals. And this wasn't an Amalekite who turned into an animal, so this animal we could leave and this animal not. Don't make your cheshbonos. He says it's also evident like this from Rashi in the end of Parshas Kiseitze. It's also on Mechilta in Parshas Boy. Rashi says, the last one in Parshas Kiseitze, Timchez Zeicha Amalek, Me'ish Vad Isha, Me'erlo Vad Yonek, Mishor Vad Seh. That's Mamish the Lashon of the Pasuk we said in Shmuel. Shelo Yehei Shem Amalek Nizker, Afilu Al Behema. Lo Ma Behema Zu Mishor Amalek Eisav. You should destroy all the animals. Why? So that the name of Amalek shouldn't be remembered even on an animal. So if you leave over a cow, they're going to say, oh, this cow used to belong to an Amalekite. So people are going to remember Amalek because you left over the cow. So even destroy the animals, because otherwise you're not destroying the remembrance of Amalek. There's still going to be animals of Amalek. So everything has to be destroyed. Not just because of what Rashi and Shmuel said, that maybe the Amalekite turned into an animal and really it's a person who turned himself into an animal. No, because Hashem said destroy. So that's what Shmuel HaNavi's criticism of Klal Yisrael was. We're in Perek Memtes, on page Taf Samach in your edition. But so that's the Indian of Klal Yisrael not destroying the animals. Now we're going to talk about Klal Yisrael not killing Agag and what happened afterwards, that Shmuel HaNavi himself took care of Agag. Rabbi Pinchas Eimer. Rabbi Pinchas said, Sof HaGad Yishbaruch Hu she'asad l'amay me'Agag ish tzar v'oyev gadol ha'Yehudim. Kadosh Baruch Hu saw, the Radal brings the Gersa that Shmuel saw, and then this is why Shmuel did what he's going to do in a few lines later, or the other Gersa says that Kadosh Baruch Hu saw she'asad la'asayis not she'asad la'mayid. Okay, Kadosh Baruch Hu saw, or Shmuel HaNavi saw that in the future, what's going to come from Agag? Ish tzar v'oyev gadol ha'Yehudim, what's it called? A vicious and enemy, a great enemy to Klal Yisrael, to the Jews. Ve'ezah, who is that enemy going to be? Zeh Haman HaRasha. That's Haman HaRasha. He's a descendant of Agag. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, Ki Haman ben Hamidasa ha'Agagi tzar kol Yehudim. Haman, the son of Hamdasa, the Agagite, he's from a descendant of Agag, he was the enemy of all he was bothering all the Jews. So, because Shaul Melech didn't kill Agag right away, he left him over, because of that, even if you would say that that Amalek was basically wiped out, but because of that, Amalek was perpetuated through Agag, and eventually Haman was born from that. And that's how this comes into the story of Purim, because Haman is the continuation of Agag that Shaul HaMelech left over. It's interesting. There's an interesting drash about this that brings up some interesting points over here. We'll say it like this: there's a pasuk in this week's parsha, Parshas Mishpatim. It says in the pasuk, "Mechashefa leisechayeh," and the next pasuk says, "Kol she'echiv in behema maisumas." A witch shouldn't live; you should kill a witch. And kol she'echiv behema, anyone who lies with an animal should be killed. What's the kesher between these two psukim? So many Rishonim on Chumash, the Hadar Zakenim and Rav Yosef Bukhar Shar, they say the kesher between these psukim is that there are some witch magicians or witchcraft people that could change that change themselves, that could change other people into animals. That's the kesher between these two psukim, which is similar to the idea we mentioned before, that the reason why that Rashi says that the reason why Hashem told Shmuel that they should kill out all of the animals of Amalek is because maybe there were people that turned into animals. They point out actually to a Gemara in Sanhedrin. I want to read the Gemara because it's actually a very funny Gemara. You might enjoy it. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, Samach Zayin Amid Beis. There's a story over there. Yanai, there was a guy named Yanai. There's some gifts that says Rebbe Yanai, but they say no, he wasn't a Rebbe because you'll see what he did. He wasn't a chashuv person. This time, it was a magician named Yanai. He went to like a hotel. Ashkin Maya. Oh, he said to them, I want to drink water when he got to the hotel. So they brought him his drink, which is like water with like flour in it. And chazu de kamarachashin svasa. he saw that when the lady from the hotel was bringing him a drink, he saw that she was like whispering something. So she was making some sort of incantation. So he realized that she's some sort of magician and she's putting some sort of spell in the drink. So Shada poured him in. He poured a little bit of the drink out on the floor, and Havu Akravi. He saw that it turned into scorpions. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to get back at this. I'm going to get back at this lady." Amar Lahu, he said to them, "Ano shesay." So he pretended like he drank it, remember? And Amar Lahu, he said to them, "Ano shesay mididchu." I drank from your water. Atu nami shatu mididi. So no, I'll get you guys water. I want to return the favor. I'll get you something to drink. So, but they didn't realize that he realized that they did some magic to the thing, and he's also a magician. So he also put a spell on the water that he gave them. Ashke, so the lady from the hotel drank his water. Havoy Chamra, she turned into a donkey because he put a spell on the water that she should turn into a donkey. Rachva, so he rode on her. Solik Lishuka, he went into the marketplace, and he was riding on her in the form of a donkey in the marketplace. Says the Gemara. Also Chaverta, her friend, another magician, came, and I guess she realized that this donkey wasn't really a donkey; it was really her friend. Pashala, so she took away the kishuv that was on her friend, and she turned back into a human. So the Gemara says, it came out that this guy Yanai was riding on top of a woman in the middle of the marketplace. So this is the Gemara that also talks about the Alidei Kishuf, you could change a person into an animal. Granted, the Gemara is also talking about these two psukim right next to each other. It doesn't mention this Nekuda, but it's also talking about these two psukim. Sam, I had a question when I first saw this Gemara. How did the friend realize that this donkey was really a human being? Was really her friend? How did she realize it? It was a donkey. But if you learn, like we said before, from a Buddha Chassid, that when a person turns into an animal, their eyes look like a human being. So she realized it because the eyes of the donkey looked like human beings. So she chapped that there was a friend. Could be. That's what the Rishonim bring down. Taking it a step further, other Sfarim bring down that this is exactly what Agag did. Agag turned himself into a cow, and he turned his wife. He turned himself into an ox. He turned his wife into a cow, and in their animal forms, he had relations with the cow. The cow had relations with the ox. The cow got pregnant, right? And then he went off, whatever, and he got captured by the Jewish army or whatever. But at least he got his wife pregnant, and from that's where Haman came about. This pshat is brought down especially it's brought down in a lot of Timanish Sfarim, the Timanish Midrashim. Medrash Habiur and Yalkut Midrash Teman, Ma'ara Fela, a bunch of Temanish Midrashim. It's also brought down in Panech Raza and Me'am Loyes. They say this chat. Moshe Zakenim and Parashas Mishpatim says a similar thing, that Agag had relations with a person who was in the form of a donkey. Basically, Pachos is the same idea. But it's interesting. This last thing. That's when I was a kid and I learned Tanakh. Whatever. This is what my father told me, at least. I don't know if he knew this from the Arizal and from the Ashech, but this is this is the classic understanding, that there was a shifcha over there when Agag was in jail, captured, and he had relations with the shifcha. And from that's where Haman came about. So these are three mahalchim in how Haman exactly came about from this king Agag. Fine. Let's go weiter. So Haman is going to be the outcome of Shmuel HaNavi leaving over Agag, of Shaul HaMalach leaving over Agag. Umizera Shaul goyel v'neikim ha'Yehudim mi'ad Haman, and from the descendants of Shaul is going to come the Redeemer and the one who does the Jews' revenge against Haman. Who's that? The Eisav. Who is that? Mordechai. That's Mordechai. Shenemar says in the pasuk. Ishihudi haya b'Shushan Habira. There was a Jewish man in Shushan Habira, and the Radal says, continue the pasuk. Ushmai Mordechai ben Yoir ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yimini. And so Mordechai is called ben Yoir ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yimini, and Shaul HaMalach is also called ben Kish. So this is the drasha that Mordechai was a descendant of Shaul HaMalach. So Shaul HaMalach left over Agag. Shaul HaMalach did some sort of chait by leaving over Agag. And from Agag came Haman. From Shaul HaMalach came Mordechai. And Mordechai is later destined to defeat the descendant of Agag. Is destined to defeat Haman.
Shaul was from Binyamin.
Yes.
He has a question, then I'll ask a different question.
Yeah, maybe it's the same one.
Esther was from Shaul.
Esther was from Shaul?
Rashi brings that.
Okay, and Esther and Mordechai were first cousins.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you know that Dafka is from Shaul? Could we Kisha Arab? They said that where is it about them is Dafka from Shaul? And if he's from Shimon ben Gera, then definitely he was not the son of Shaul. Because Shimon was in the same time, but he wasn't his son.
I don't know. You're asking a good question. It could be also because it seems like there's a few generations skipped, or people lived for a very long time, or just that each word in that pasuk is being used as a drasha. It doesn't literally mean his father's name was Yar and his father's name was Shimi, his father's name was Kish, whatever. Yar, Shimi, whatever.
Another thing about them is from Zera, Shimon ben Gera.
What? Yeah, we're gonna mention that in the next parak nun.
His seed, then he can't be from Shaul because Shimi was not the son of Shaul.
Could be from a mother's side. It could be it's Lav Dafka Ben Achaben. It could be just. That's what I'm saying. It could be the words of the pasuk are just a drush. Yeah, it doesn't literally mean that this is exactly the.
The pasuk that talks about what's the king name from David the Midget.
What?
We talked about him last week.
The what?
The king, the good one, the one that went to sleep. Chizkiyahu.
Chizkiyahu, yeah.
Yeah. So Chizkiyahu is, if I'm not mistaken, it says in the pasuk he was the son of.
Shaul's name was Oz.
Yeah, it says it was the son of Shlomo, son of David. It was another like
There were a few generations in between.
Yes, a few generations between. He was
Right.
not even son of Shlomo.
Right.
You know, or more so.
So it just doesn't mean son. It means like a spiritual heir, like a continuation.
But the short thing you have Eisav ben Ger. Then you have Shimon ben Ger. Obviously, it means that Ger was a person who lived a long time ago.
Right. I know.
Sorry for cutting off. You're in the middle of an idea.
Finished?
Yeah.
Huh.
No,
Said, but it's interesting that in Chazal we have a few different like nukudas of like who or how the b'zchus who is Amalek going to be destroyed or Eisav going to be destroyed. Here the Matriarchs is saying that Eisav, the zera of Amalek is going to be destroyed dafka by Shaul. Elsewhere, let's say in the Navi Ovadia, so it says that Beis Yaakov is going to be Eish, and Beis Yosef Lehava, and Beis Eisav is going to be the Kash, and that Yosef is going to make a fire and burn up Beis Eisav. So we see that's the schus of Yosef, and that's why they say that's why Moshe Rabbeinu Dafka sent Yeshua, because Yeshua is from Shevet Ephraim, so son of Yosef. Dafka sent Yeshua to fight Amalek because Eisav is supposed to fall into the hands of Yosef. And here we're talking about the fans of Shaul. Elsewhere, Chazal say that it's a Zohar that says that Amalek is supposed to fall into the hands of Binyamin, because when Yaakov Avinu and his whole family came to greet Eisav, so everyone went and they bowed down to Eisav, but Binyamin didn't bow down to Eisav. So Binyamin is the only one who has the kaya to defeat Eisav because he didn't acquiesce to Eisav.
That's a common denominator. They're all from Rachel.
Oh, so the common denominator is that they're all from Rachel. That's really the common denominator. They're all from Rachel. So we see that the Chazal understood there's a special zchus that Rachel had, that's why Rachel is going to be able to defeat Amalek. The Shaul is like this, very interesting Shaul. Rabbi Yonasan Eibishitz asks this question. In Yair's Dvash Chelek Aleph Drush Gimel. Rabbi Yonasan Eibishitz asks, if you, there's a Titus in Gittin and Daf Nun Hem and Beis, Titus says that who killed Eisav? We know who killed Eisav. What? Two opinions, but Titus says that the final blow, the one who really killed Eisav was Yehuda. The Titus says that Don hit him and he didn't die, and then Yehuda came and finished him off. But Yehuda was the one that killed Eisav. Now Yehuda is from Leah, is a son of Leah. So Rabbi Yonasan Eibishitz asks, why is it that Eisav himself, he could have been defeated by anyone, even by Yehuda, even from a descendant of Leah. But the sons of Eisav, then Dafka can only Dafka be defeated by the sons of Rachel. Why? What does Rachel have that Leah didn't have? That Rachel is zeicha to this, And what do the sons of Eisav have that Eisav didn't have? That they can only be destroyed by Rachel and not by Leah. So Binyamin the Midget says a very interesting idea. It says like this. When we're talking about Amalek, so Amalek, if you know the genealogy a little bit of Amalek, so Amalek is the name of Eisav's grandson. Eisav had a son named Eliphaz, and Eliphaz had a son named Amalek. So the Torah in Parshas Vayishlach says that Timnah, there was a princess of the Chayrim, the aboriginal inhabitants of Har Seir, were the Chayrim, and then Eisav came and chucked them out, or conquered them. So Timnah was a Chori princess, and she very much wanted to join the family of Avram Avinu. She very much wanted to be Megar and have some shaykhs to the family of Avram Avinu. And there's a medrash that says she went to the Bezin of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, which there was only 14 years where Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were all alive at the same time. But she went to their Bezin, they rejected her for whatever reason. So then she went and she became a Pilegesh to Eliphaz, the son of Eisav. That's what it says in the medrash. So we see that Timnah, she was a princess, and she was Meiser Nefesh so much that she wanted to join the family of Avram Avinu that she gave up her life as a princess to be a secondary wife to one of Esav's sons, because she so much wanted to be part of the family. That in some ways that's a big schus for her, that she was Meiser Nefesh just to have shaykhs to the family of Avram Avinu. So Amalek, who are descendants of Timnah and Eliphaz, they have a special schus that Eisav himself didn't have, that they come from someone who was Meiser Nefesh to join the family of Avram Avinu. That's wonderful. That's why the sons of Eisav are greater than Eisav himself. On the other hand, why is Rachel better than Leah? So we know that Yaakov Avinu worked for 7 years in order to marry Rachel. And then Lavan decided, you know what? I'm going to do the old switcheroo. I'm going to give you Leah, not Rachel. Now, of course, Yaakov Avinu anticipated this, so he gave Rachel certain signs so that you'll know that I'll know that it's you, and everything will be beseder. Right? Now, if Lavan is going to give Leah to Yaakov instead of Rachel, because of these signs, it's going to be quite apparent very quickly. So Rachel realized that her sister is going to be very embarrassed. So what did Rachel do? She went and she told her sister what the signs were so that she won't embarrass her sister. Now in Rachel we find a higher darga than we find by Timnah. Rachel had the chance not just to be a part of the family of Avram Avinu. She had the chance to be the main wife of one of the chashuva people in the family of Avram Avinu. She had the chance to be the main wife. And what did she do? She gave up that chance, Meiser Nefesh, in order to not embarrass her sister, and instead she became what the Binyamin the Midget says, a second wife is always called a Pilegesh. I don't know where he gets that from, but the second wife is always called, she became the second wife of Yaakov instead of the first wife. She gave up her chance to be the main wife. So Binyamin the Midget says that's why Rachel has a bigger schus than Leah, and that's why only Rachel could defeat the koyach of Amalek, because Amalek has a schus of Meiser Nefesh to join Klal Yisrael, and Rachel has an even greater schus of being Meiser Nefesh to lose her prime position to get a secondary position. That's the word from Binyamin the Midget. Right. So we said that they left over. Shaul left over Agag, and now Shmuel is going to take matters into his own hands. Sham Amad Shmuel Mispal Shmuel stood there and he davened and he said, Riboim Kol Olamim, Master of the universes, Al Tishkach Tzaras Eisav Harasha She'asu L'Aviv. Do not forget the pain that Eisav, the wicked man, did to his father. V'lakach Nashim Nochreis Mizabcheis Mekachreis L'Avodah Zarah L'Morechai Aveisav. It says in Parshas Titus that Eisav married 2 Canaanite wives, and they were mizbachis, they avodah zarah. They offered incense and offered karbanos to avodah zarah, and it was bittering the lives of the avos of Yitzchak and Rivka. And Emma, it says the pasuk, Vatiyana moiras ruach liYitzchak Rivka. The wives of Eisav were a moiras ruach to Yitzchak and Rivka. It was a bitter spirit. It made their lives bitter. So Shmuel is being ma'ayir that chait of Eisav. Shmuel's davening to Hashem, remember the sin of Eisav on his sons and on his grandsons until the end of all generations. Hashem should all the sins of his fathers should be remembered in front of Hashem, to Hashem. When Shmuel HaNavi came in to the jail cell of Agag, so he heard Agag was sort of whispering into his mouth, and he said, is it possible that maybe the death is going to be removed from upon me? There's a few different explanations of what exactly Agag meant to say. The Marzu over here says that it was saying it like sort of sarcastically, like, is there any way that I'm going to be not killed? No, here's my end. Others want to say that he was saying like, the Mara Moves, the bitterness of death is going to be removed from me. Some of the Rishonim over there say that the bitterness of death is going to be removed because I thought that I was going to be killed by like some sort of commoner or whatever, but I see that Shmuel HaNavi, like the greatest leader of Klal Yisrael at the time, Moshe and Aaron, Shmuel HaNavi is going to come and kill me. Fine, it's not so bad. It's not like some low person is going to kill me. I'm going to be killed by like the spitz person. So it's not as much of a bizarre. There's different explanations of what exactly he was saying there. Sar Mara Mavis. Shmuel said the famous words, Kasher shikla nashim charbecha, kein tishka minashim imecha. There's a few different ways to explain exactly what this means, but literally it means, Shmuel said to him, just like your sword made women childless, so too your mother shall be childless from women. Meaning your mother, the way the Rishonim over there in Shmuel Aleph explain it, that his mother, Agag's mother, she was the mother of the king, so she had a lot of pride, and she was very proud of her son. So when her son dies, it's going to be more of a bitterness for her than if a lady whose son wasn't so much gets killed. So he's saying that just like your sword made women childless, so your mother is going to be childless more than other women because she's going to feel it more than other women. There's other explanations also, maybe we'll get to in a moment. And now the Medrash is going to say a drush over here on this. Kishem sheshikla Charav Amalek zikeinacho es bachurei v'nei Yisrael me'acharei ha'anan. Just like the sword of Amalek, your ancestor, made childless the women, the let's say the bachurei b'nei Yisrael me'acharei ha'anan. The Radal explains this a little bit better. That basically, when Amalek came to attack Klal Yisrael right after Yetzias Mitzrayim, so of course there was the Ananim were protecting Klal Yisrael, so you couldn't really come in and attack them. But the people who were Tameh were outside the clouds. So anyone who was Tameh was outside the clouds. So when Amalek came and they attacked the people that were out of the clouds. So Kasher Shishiklo, and the people that they killed were these people that were outside of the clouds. So Kasher, who were Tameh. Just like the sword of Amalek, your ancestor, made childless these Bachurei B'nai Yisrael that were outside of the Anan, the Jews that were outside of the cloud, and V'yoshen Yishem Shechulois Almanos, and their wives became childless and they became widowed. So the Radal says there's 2 points over here. First of all, the ones that Amalek killed, so it made the wives into widows. And even the people that didn't get killed, but the Radal says an interesting idea, that now that it became dangerous to be outside of the clouds, so people are going to separate from their wives so that they won't become tamei, and then because of that, it'll cause people to be childless, because you won't be with your wife. So that's how he explains it. So, Ken Tishka Minoshim Imecha. So too, your mother should become childless, the way I read it before, more so than other women. Because she felt it more because her son is the king. Right, that's the drush over here. Uvitfilas Esther v'narisaha nergu kol bar Amalek v'yoshu nishem zhechulo yisrael Amalek shenemar v'yomer Shmuel kasher shekla nashim charbacha. The Medrash is saying another drush. what does it mean? Kain tishkal minoshim imecha. The way we read it is, so too your mother should become childless more so than other women. Here we're gonna understand it differently. Kain tishkal minoshim imecha. So too your mother will become childless minoshim, from women, because of women. What does that mean? B'tfilas Esther v'Naisel, in the schus of the tefillah, the prayer of Esther and her girls that were helping Esther, Nergu kol bar Amalek, all the males of Amalek were killed. V'yoshin Hashem shchules Amalek. So this is talking about it already in the time of Purim. Later on, and their wives were what's it called, childless and widowed. Shenemar vayom Shmuel kasher shikol nashim charbecha. Meaning that Shmuel HaNavi was right before he killed Agag. He said this famous phrase, he's giving a nevuah that in the time of Esther, it's the tefillah of Esther and Nariseha that's going to bring down the downfall of Amalek. Utfilah Shmuel shiber chelim shel bnei Agag me'al Yisrael ba'Gilgal. The tefillah of Shmuel, which was in Gilgal, that's what broke the power of Bnei Agag over Bnei Israel. Shnamar, so the pasuk, "Vayishasef Shmuel es Agag lefnei Hashem ba'Gilgal." Shmuel sliced Agag in front of Hashem in Gilgal. The Medrash is saying, what does it mean in front of Hashem? In front of Hashem meaning that Hashem took away the koyach that Amalek had over Bnei Israel. In front of Hashem meaning like in Shemayim, in Hashem's cheshbonos. That's what. So these were the final words of Shmuel. Shmuel, right before he came in with his sword to go kill Agag. He said, there's a few interesting points to talk about over here. First of all, why did Shmuel HaNavi have to say this? Like, he had to give like a whole dramatic soundbite before he went and killed him. Just go and kill him. What's the big deal? So really, the Rambam talks about this. I don't know. I'm not going to read the Rambam word for word, but the Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs, in Mitzvahs essay Kuf Pei Tes, the Rambam writes that basically there's two inyanim of Amalek. There's two mitzvahs when it comes to Amalek. There's the mitzvah of destroying Amalek, and there's the mitzvah of zechiras Amalek. Zechiras Amalek, mechias Amalek. So the Rambam says that there's the inyan that when you're doing mechias Amalek, you should also do zechiras Amalek. Meaning, so Anna brings this pasuk by Shmuel. Meaning, right before Shmuel went to destroy Amalek, he went to remember why are we killing Amalek? Remind ourselves, why am I doing this? Because you went, your sword made the Jews' wives childless. That's the zecher what Amalek did. So then he went and he killed it. The Rambam makes a kesher between zechiras Amalek and mechias Amalek. It's an important yesod. That's what the Rambam says. There's a few other. I mentioned before. There's a few other ways to understand what Shmuel was saying. The Baal HaKeda in Parshas B'Shalach, when it talks about the original war, so he says a little bit a different insight over here. Just like your sword made shikla nashim, it made the women childless. Meaning the sword of Amalek went and attacked the women. It's focusing on the women of Klal Yisrael. Amalek focused, the avla that Amalek did was on the women. What's the avla? Why is the avla that Amalek did on the women? So the Baal HaKeda understood that what it means is not dafka the women. It just means that Machane Yisrael, the campment of Klal Yisrael, when they came out of Mitzrayim, so they were ayef v'yagea, they were weak and they were tired because they were just traveling and they were just slaves for 100 years, and they're coming out and all of a sudden they get attacked. So you went and you attacked someone who's so vulnerable and weak. That's what Amalek did. You went and it's like if you go and attack a woman on the street, a helpless person without any weapon. It's like, what are you doing? So and Shmuel saying, so it's magia to you, the kain tishka minoshim imacha. So too, your mother is going to become childless from someone who's like a woman, like a hopeless, vulnerable person who in his own right. Meaning, Shmuel HaNavi is saying about himself, You know who's going to kill you? Not some warrior general, major general in the street or whatever. Who's going to kill you? The old man, me, the Navi, the Av Bezdin, the Navi, the leader of Klal Yisrael, old man coming here. He's the one who's going to kill you. The guy without the weapons. Just like you went and you attacked the people without the weapons, you're going to be defeated by the weak person, the weakest link.
You mean that for the generations or like that for that moment? What do you mean?
Oh, so it could be if you want to apply it to what we're saying here in Pirkei Eliezer. In the time of Shmuel, that's what it meant that the Shmuel was going to kill him, and in the time of Purim, it means that his downfall comes from Esther. We're going to see in a moment exactly that point that you just said. But it's not an interesting nekuda that it's a bit difficult to understand this Bala Keda because Shmuel HaNavi died when he was 52 years old. So 52 is not like such an old man. Like the way the Bala Keda is like, oh, he's an old man, he's going to come and kill you. Like an old hopeless man is going to come. He's not old. It's 52 is not so old. What's it? But yeah. But the Gemara Titus and Daf Haman Beis says about Shmuel HaNavi, Kaftzal of Zikna, that he became old very quickly. So even though he died relatively young, he was only 52, but by the time he was 52, he was like mamish, like old man, with probably a long white beard and whatever, and wrinkles and I don't know. So it looked like it was like some weakling, old helpless person coming in and killing Agag. That's one nukula. That's the Balakeh who understood that the Inyan of Nashim just means the person who can't defend himself. My Rebbe of Elio Margolis, he has in his Sefer Amunas Eliezer and Purim, also on his new Sefer on Pesach that just came out. So he talks about this nukula. He sort of takes it literally. He takes it that the Inyan of Amalek was that Amalek and Eisav, they're trying to fight against the women of Klal Yisrael. He brings this from Rav Hutner, this idea, and he brings a few different places where we see this, but he doesn't explain the deeper understanding, and I think I have somewhat of a deeper insight to what he means. I'll just explain what he says. He says that we find that Eisav was Mechabed Yitzchak, but we don't find that Eisav was Mechabed Rivka. We see he was Mekayim Kibbud Av, but where's the aim? The aim he didn't care about. That Eisav had something against his mother. He didn't agree with his mother. He didn't hold of her. He didn't have kibbud aim. He just had kibbud av. We find this in a few places. One place in Parshas told us we see that Rivka says to Yitzchak, she says. Katzi b'chayai b'bnei b'nei schais im lekech Yaakov isha b'nei schais ka'elim b'nei s'aretz lo melichayim. Rivka tells Yitzchak, I don't want Yaakov to marry a Canaanite. It's disgusting for me. Right? A few psukim later it says Vayar Eisav ki ro'is b'nei Canaan be'enei Yitzchak aviv. Eisav saw that the daughters of Canaan are bad in the eyes of his father Yitzchak, and then he went and he married Bas Yishmael. It was coming from Rivka originally. It didn't come from Yitzchak. You should say that because Rivka didn't like the Canaan daughters, so Eisav went and married Bas Yishmael. Not because of Yitzchak, be'enei Yitzchak aviv. Oh, you see from here that Eisav didn't care what his mother thought. He only cared what his father thought. That's one place. And he brings from Rav Tzvi Cheshen Shlita that another nekuda that it says that Eisav wanted to kill Yaakov Avinu. It says Vayomer Eisav b'libai yikravu yemei eval avi v'arga es Yaakov achi. The days of mourning for my father are coming soon. My father's going to die soon, and I'm going to go and kill my brother Yaakov. What about Rivka? Even if Yitzchak dies, Rivka's much younger than him. So Rivka's still alive. So why do you wait for Rivka to die before you kill Yaakov? Elamai, Eisav doesn't care if Rivka gets upset or whatever. He doesn't care about Rivka. He only cares about his father. He doesn't care about his mother. So Eisav had something specifically against Rivka. So specifically against the mothers of Klal Yisrael. Ad kan before. This is what he says. So what does it mean that Eisav had something against the mothers of Klal Yisrael? What's the nekud over here? The mothers, Tafka. So I was thinking like this. Some Sefer says when we're talking about Avram Avinu had two brothers, Nachor and Haran. So we know Nachor was a priest for Avodah Zarah, whatever. Avram was Avodah Hashem, and when they took Avram Avinu and put him in the fiery furnace, so they took the whole family, and they asked, what do you hold? So Avram said, no, I hold of Hashem. Nachor said, I hold of the whatever the Avodah Zarah that Nimrod held of. And they asked Haran, and Haran was sort of quiet. And Haran was thinking to himself, look, if they throw Avram into the fire and he survives, so I know that Hashem is really the Hashem, and I'll just be mevatel to my brother. And if not, if he doesn't survive, so I'll go with their Avodah Zarah, and then they won't put me in the fire. So what Haran did basically was he tied his fate to Avram Avinu. He made himself secondary to Avram Avinu. Whatever happens to Avram, I'll sort of follow him. That's what he said, or at least say myself following him. But Haran didn't have his own opinion or his own. He was basing himself on what Avram Avinu did. So, or he'll either go with Avram or go with Nachor, or if you could look at it like that in a way. So it says the Chassam Sofer that in that zechus, that's why Haran was zoicha that all of the imahis of Klal Yisrael are descendants of Haran, because Haran had a daughter Milcah, and Milcah was the mother of Besuel, and Besuel was the father of Rivka and Lavan. So there you have Rivka, and then Lavan was the father of Rachel and Leah, and also Haran had another daughter named Yiska. And Chazal tell us that, and also actually Josephus also says this besides Chazal, that even though a lot of academics want to say not like this, but Yiska, who was the daughter of Haran, is Sarah, right? And Avram Avinu Sarah. So you have all the Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, they're all descendants of Haran. So some say says b'schus this, that Haran was sort of mevatel himself to Avram and Nachor. B'schus that he was zeicha that all the imahis of Klal Yisrael came from him. That's what the Chassam Sofer says. So what I want to take from that is that, what do you see from that? That the Indian of the imahis is that they were mevatel themselves to someone else. Just like Haran was mevatel themselves to his older brother, so the imahis are mevatel themselves to the avos. Now when we say Shema Nesrei, so we say Lekei Avram, Lekei Yitzchak, Lekei Yaakov. So us Orthodox people, we only say Lekei Avram, Lekei Yitzchak, Lekei Yaakov. We don't say Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. Why not? Why don't we mention the imahis? Because when we say Avram, we mean Avram, it's Sarah also. But because they say behind every successful man is a successful woman. So when we say Avram, we mean Avram and Sarah. But Sarah doesn't show because Ayei Sarah Yishtachal Yinei Pa'oihel. That's not sneers to mention it. But Sarah is there. She's there behind Avram Avinu. When we say Yitzchak, the same thing. We mean Yitzchak and Rivka. When we say Yaakov, we mean Yaakov and Rachel and Leah. Maybe Bill and Zilpah too. I don't know. But the imahis are included in the others because the imahis they're being mevatel themselves to the others. They're allowing the others to make the decisions, and they're deferring to their opinion.
Interesting. There's an interesting side point, I guess.
Yeah.
Why Abraham Avinu in the first place is sending Eliezer back to his family to find a wife to his son Yitzchak?
Right.
It's very difficult to understand. Because I'm Baruch when you're Ara, so you're not going to take an Canaanite, but it's not a good explanation. So maybe the Chassam Sofer is
the Mepharshim say that
the reason why Abraham Avinu was sending back to his family. So look, there's a schus there. I know that.
Right, the Mepharshim said that the family of Avraham Avinu, even though they were Avodah Zarah, they had good midas. This is an example of that. They had good midas.
But he hasn't had good midas.
Yeah, right. Because he's a Knani. He's Aura. In Aura is Dabek
different people in the world have the good midas.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think that's.
But the good midas of that family is better than.
Yeah, that good midas.
Yeah, that after that. But
so what did Eisav have against his mother?
What? Oh, so what did Eisav have against his mother? So just the Indian of the mothers was coming from Haran telling suit to his brother. So Eisav, when he saw his mother, he saw it reminded him that, oh, I should maybe shtel suit to my brother. I should maybe give up myself and listen to what my brother's saying. because the mothers represent a brother giving in to his brother. Right? Haran giving in to Avram and Nachor. So when Eisav saw Rivka, it showed him, it reminded him, there's a brother giving in to another brother, and he didn't want to give in to Yaakov. So that's what hated him so much. He didn't want to have to give in to someone else. So that's the Indian of Eisav, and that's what I want to tie up. And that's why Eisav, the point of Eisav was that he was dafka against the shikol nashim charbecha. Eisav wanted to attack dafka the women, because that was the point that Eisav was against. Okay, you could take it or leave it, but that's my thoughts on the matter. Okay, let's go a little bit weiter. What time is it? 8:14. 8:14. Okay. Should we go a little bit weiter? Yeah. Said it. Okay. With everything, Hashem does the shlichus. Hashem will send a shliach from anything. Meaning, Bagiborim, against strong people, who shelech aleim dvarim nemuchim. Hashem will send against them low things. Lohidian she'en koyach k'varasim me'uma. To teach you that their koyach, their power is nothing. There's nothing to their power. Like Rabbi Epstein said before, we were saying over here that Haman was this great big balgaiva, a hush of a person. He was like the second to the king, right? And his downfall came dafka from Esther, dafka from an Isha. Or if you want to be more feministic, you could say like the Marzu understood that Haman was marish all the way on the top, and his downfall came dafka from Shevet Binyamin, which Shevet Binyamin is the youngest and the smallest of all the Shvatim of Klal Yisrael, the least chashuv of the Shvatim. That's what brought about dafka, the downfall of Haman. So you see that the downfall of the most chashuv people, Hashem sends the least chashuv of things to bring their downfall.
The biggest enemy of them all.
Yeah, and the Medrash brings two examples. One example, and then an example even when Hashem punishes Klal Yisrael himself. Titus Rasha, the Emperor Titus, Nichnas the Beis Kodesh Kodashim. He entered the house of the Kodesh Kodashim, the Beis Hamikdash. He's the one who destroyed the second Beis Hamikdash. V'amar, and Titus said, "Ein tzar lo'ayav yachal lefanav." There is no enemy who can withstand me. Me'asa Kadosh Baruch Hu. What did Hashem do? Shalach alav yitosh echad l'teich chaytmei. Hashem sent a small yitosh, is like some sort of fly. In modern Hebrew, it means mosquito. Some sort of, let's call it a mosquito, into the nose of Titus. And this mosquito was going and eating whatever inside Titus's head until it reached the brain of Titus. Or Kamay Geisel ben Shana, that's the gersa of the Bais HaGadol. Mishkal Shnei Litrin. That mosquito ate up parts of Titus's brain or whatever until it grew into the size of a bird, like a big fat mosquito. And that drove Mr. Titus crazy, and because parts of his brain was eaten and wasn't a good ending for him. But why did Hashem do this? He's coming saying, I'm the emperor of the Roman Empire and the greatest general that ever lived, and I destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, and I have all the power in the world. And he went crazy and he got killed because of a little mosquito that went up his nose. Hashem takes the lowest things to bring down the biggest people. The same thing Layalenu lahavda with Klal Yisrael. V'Yisrael shenichnusu lebeis Kodesh Kodashim begad v'slibam. Klal Yisrael, who went to the Beis Kodesh Kodashim with great pride. And they said that no enemy can withstand us. Like we mentioned, the Radal says this. We mentioned this already before in Perek Yud, that as long as the Beis Hamikdash was standing, Klal Yisrael had a certain pride, and they were saying like, we can do whatever affairs we want, and nothing will happen to us because we have the Beis Hamikdash and we're protected, and that's it. There's nothing can defeat us. We're undefeatable. What did Hashem do? Hashem sent upon them the Rasha Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was a terrible person and a gvar ruach. He had a high spirit. To teach everyone that not through strength does a person succeed. Is a person strong. It's not through through literal strength. Like Chazal say, Ezu Gibor, HaKavish is Yitzray, not whoever lifts weights or whatever. That's what Chazal are coming to teach us over here. Interestingly, so what's the Medrash saying over here? Hashem sent to Klal Yisrael had this guy that no one could destroy them, so Hashem sent Nebuchadnezzar against them. What's wrong with Nebuchadnezzar? So it said Ish Tsar Gvar Ruach. The Radal and the Marzu say it's not supposed to say Ish Tsar, it's supposed to say Ish Ktsar, a short man. A few Midrashim talk about this. Apparently, Nebuchadnezzar was actually a midget, like Napoleon. Nebuchadnezzar was a short man. And there's a Medrash Tanya Ve'elio. It says that Nebuchadnezzar was going around conquering the world. That every city that Nebuchadnezzar went and conquered, so all the people from the city came out to go meet our new overlord. And they came, and whenever they saw Nebuchadnezzar, everyone would start laughing and say, "This guy is our king. This little short pipsqueak. He's the guy taking over the world." But that's what Hashem does. Hashem shows that the greatest powers come, their downfalls by the lowest things. That's also the Marzu says that Nebuchadnezzar comes from the Kazdim, and the Kazdim are the Chaldeans are a disgraced nation. So he came from a disgraced background. And that disgraced nation was what Dafka destroyed. Klal destroyed the first base of English. Okay, whatever. But the point is that's what Hashem does. Hashem sends the lowest things to destroy the highest people. Let's just finish up a few more lines. Rabbi Chachinai says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't give a set amount for the different exiles except for Shibud Mitzrayim. It says, because it says in the pasuk by Shibud Mitzrayim, Va'avadum v'inu isam arba me'eshana. Hashem told Avram Avinu by the priest Ben Usarim that Klal Yisrael is going to go to a place in Eretz Shloi Lahem, a land that doesn't belong to them, and they're going to be servants, slaves there, and they're going to be afflicted for 400 years. So Hashem gave an end to the exile. He said that the exile of Mitzrayim is going to be 400 years, or 210, or whatever. You have to know how to cheshbon the 400 years, like we're going to speak about in Perek Memches. Hashem cut it in half to 210 years, like we're going to talk about in Perek Memches. Umalchus Bavel Shivim Shana, and also Hashem gave that the end of Malchus Bavel is going to be 70 years. Shenamar Kilifim Lois Levavel Shivim Shana. According to when it's going to be filled for Bavel, 70 years. That's when Hashem is going to be remember Klal Yisrael and bring about the Geula after Golus Bavel. Just one point to finish off with. The Radal says, what's the difference that by the first Golus and the second Golus, when the first place of English was destroyed, so the Nevi'im were telling everyone the Golus is going to be 70 years and that's it. And then when the second base of English was destroyed, we don't know how long it's going to be the Golus for. It's still going on and on and on. It's as long as the Golus. How come Hashem revealed the end for the first one and didn't reveal the end of the second one? So the Gemara Mesechus Yuma, the Testament base, talks about this. The Gemara says, what's the difference between why the first base of English was destroyed and why the second base of English was destroyed? The first base of English was destroyed because of Gilei Arayos, Shvichas Damim, and Avodah Zarah. Those are all Averas on the outside. It's obvious when you're doing Gilei Arayos. It's obvious when you're doing Shvichas Damim. It's obvious when you're doing Avodah. You can see it. It's apparent. The second base of English was destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. That Sinas Chinam, baseless hatred, is something in the heart. It's not readily obvious. You can't necessarily tell if this guy doing Sinas Chinam. Is he not doing Sinas Chinam? Maybe he knows what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has a cheshbon. It's not apparent. So the first base of English was destroyed for apparent sins. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, it was clear what the sins were. You could see the sins, so you could see the end as well. Hashem was Megala. They did sins that were Goli, so Hashem gave them a Golus where the end is Goli, where you know where the end is going to be. 70 years, that's it. By our Golus, the Golus of the second base of English, where people went into Golus because of Sinas Chinam, so we don't know when the Golus is going to end. Why? Because that was the Avera. The Avera was Sinas Chinam, which was something that wasn't obvious to the outside. So the punishment is that you go into Golus, and the end of the Golus is not going to be obvious to the outside. That's a lesson for all of us to know about the Indian of why this Golus is different than the previous Golus. Okay, next week we're going to continue. Have interesting things to say, cheshbonis of the different years, and we'll talk about Hashem. All right. Thank you for coming.